Today I'm going to show you how I decorated this vintage cake. Come join me. So this is going to be a 3-layer vanilla cake with a strawberry cheesecake filling. I started with putting some vanilla buttercream icing onto the cake board so that my cake doesn't move around as I'm decorating. I'm going to stack this cake while putting a strawberry cheesecake filling between each of the layers. So first I'm putting the layer of buttercream on top of the first layer, and I'm going to build up a dam on the top of this first cake. See here I'm really building that up so that there's space to put my filling. Once I have that first layer kind of covered, I'm going to add additional icing to build that dam up even more. And here is my first layer of filling. And I'm adding my second cake layer. I'm also going to cover that layer, again covering it with buttercream. And I am smoothing out that icing along the edges to make sure that that filling does not come out the sides. And again, covering that cake so that I can build up that dam. You see here I'm doing that, kind of pressing down along the edges. And I'm going to add that next layer of filling. And I'm going to add my third layer of cake and cover this up as well. After I had this layer fully coated, I put this into the fridge for a bit so that it had some time to set, so that my filling wasn't seeping out. Really had a good opportunity to set and settle before I began to decorate the cake. So here I am then going back into it, and I'm covering the cake the rest of the way. I'm putting my final coat. Of course, that first layer that I'd put on was my crumb coat. Here I am putting my final coat of icing onto the cake, and I'm going to make sure that it's nice and smooth. And I'm going to square up those edges and prepare my canvas so it's all ready to be decorated in the vintage cake design. This cake is going to say, "Dancing Queen, young and sweet, only 17, as requested by the customer." And it's going to have this kind of green sage color with a pink design. So I'm starting with kind of doing that nice and big, thick border along the top. I'm going to do the same thing at the bottom. You can see my cake is nice and smooth at this point. After I get this layer done, I'm going to go above and in between with a smaller of the same piping tip and do a white border. As we know, the vintage cakes always have a lot of icing and lots of different piping tips to give it that effect of the vintage design. So after I have that done, I'm adding some swirls of icing, some little rosettes, and I'm going to add some leaves as well to each one of those. I'm adding 8 to the top of the cake. Some clusters have 1, 2, or 3 of these little rosettes. Here's where I'm adding those little leaves to each one of the rosette clusters. After I have that done, I'm doing some drop lines around the outside of the cake. So I'm going to do a double layer of drop line. One is really for the drop line itself. The second is going to be where I plan to put another layer of pink border along these drop lines. So after I go around the whole cake with the drop lines, I'm adding some embellishments at the center of each of those. And I'm going to just clean those up a little bit so they look nice and neat. Here I am adding some pearl sprinkles along the whole top in a circle on the top of the cake. So I'm placing those in a circle right inside of that white border on the top. Now I'm writing on the top of the cake, as I mentioned, Dancing Queen, young and sweet, only 17. That's what this cake is going to say. And now I'm adding some ribbon around those drop lines. And as I mentioned, I'm adding that pink embellishment as well, doing that in between those two drop lines that I mentioned. After I have that done, I'm going to do the same pink piping tip, and I'm going to do it along the white border at the bottom. I'm going to add some white dots going down the side of the cake, underneath those embellishments that I put in between each of the ribbon arches. I'm just flattening those dots down. And in between those rows of dots, I'm going to do little kind of paisley designs using some pink. And then I'm also going to do some star tip designs up in the spaces above the drop lines. And with that, that's going to finish the cake, and this is what it looks like. If you enjoyed seeing this cake being decorated, I encourage you to like, comment, share, and subscribe so that you don't miss any future content. And this is what the cake looked like. Thank you so much for joining me. I do appreciate you coming to watch me decorate this cake. Have a great day.